Hello, everybody. This is Empty Turtle. I'm here with Dr. David Jubb. We got a good one for today. You're going to love it. It's called Lying. And Dr. Jubb, could you please say hello?
G'day, mate. It's such amazing show for us to be in this master class, especially like you just jump into the topic straight away of lying. I think it's so good. And it's interesting because you've got sort of body language, right? And most of us we really don't know much about body language, but if we could put things in terms of a body language, it could be possible for us to be able to pick out patterns, for instance, that relate to lying.
What is the definition of lying?
Well, it is the intention just to deceive, really. And so an intention to deceive could be because some advantage exists, yes?
Okay, yeah.
So as you could see that if society was to benefit, for instance, yes, because you went along with some group, because you would benefit yourself, yes?
Okay.
Right. That could cause you to have a certain sort of body language versus if no one else was to benefit and only you were benefiting. And that's another sort of condition that goes on where things are. There is another condition which you're not really getting any benefit and no one is getting a benefit at all.
Okay, so
and so those.
have you narrowed it down to how many types of lying or liars are out there?
Well, where intention is to deceive, always truth-telling is a structure, of course, and always what we're missing is 40%, quite a bit, matter of fact, which is existing in truth-telling, which the truth-telling itself really will just be natural and flowing, and it's like really not controlled at all. And so we will say that a scientist who is this way in science doesn't have any attachment.
Do I have to talk boring like a scientist?
Where somebody is really the best actor, he is this way because he doesn't have an attachment. Where someone is excellent in themselves, like athletic in their performance, let's say that they're exceptional in their capacity to be able to teach others, let's say, or even like a magistrate or a judge, as our peers are. That's what that means. It means that something is logical, and you and I, we have a logical, rational continuum in ourselves, and everything else is sort of like interferes with that. It kind of like causes a spike in front. It causing a spike of interruption.
What? Okay. How many types of liars do we have out there that you can categorize?
Well, there are four sort of types of lies. That speckled snake in the Toltec tradition taught, yes,
really?
The Toltecs taught, right.
So 4 basics.
Yeah.
Let's start with that. What are the 4 basics?
Well, the double-faced ghost is the worst.
Really?
Yes.
All right. The double-faced ghost. How do I spot a double-faced ghost?
Typically, they're going to be sort of shaking their head no while they're saying yes.
Ooh.
And so they have simultaneous types of incongruities going on all the time in their
what kind
body
of lies
language.
would they tell somebody, a double-faced ghost?
It just is to deceive somebody like, for instance, Dunning-Kruger would be so confident about something but have not a single stitch of any research or nothing behind it. You see, yeah. So you'll have a lot of things going on there. But double-faced ghosts, really, basically, speckled snake taught everybody. You could easily see it and spot it.
Now,
because
speckled snake is a person. You knew.
Oh, I didn't know speckled snake, but God help me, I did through my teacher Cloud, because speckled snake did a lot of funny things.
Okay.
And it was like a George Carlin of the day.
Okay.
As a medicine man, and speckled snake was someone who was in Andrew Jackson's time.
Wow.
Yeah, but very, very famous.
Yeah, and
Cloud's teacher, Two Feathers was a student of Speckled Snake, and so Cloud just was just like enthralled with Speckled Snake because there was a lot of humor in the way that things were getting taught and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. And okay, so very very cool. I'd sure like to read about Speckled Snake and Cloud.
Yeah, in the Path of Hollow Bones.
Now check this out. The first one we're covering, the Ghostface Liar. What is behind? And we'll go back to what kind of lie they'll say. But what's behind a Ghostface Liar? Why are they lying?
Typically, it's because parentedness was a surrogate spouse relatedness that went on, and so an incestual condition went on with emotion and things like that, which couldn't be possible for a child to process at all.
Okay.
And so, and because something was wrong where the condition occurred, and children were taken for themselves, let's say, for someone else, and not that loving was for someone inside themselves, but love was for themselves because there was some sort of deficiency. So you basically could say that all these types of stupidness, I guess you could call it too, which is deceit relative, is some benefit that first is being gained. What could you say the benefit would be for a double-faced ghost is that they've got a lot of ostrich, meaning that they have reduced a lot of stress because they just put everything out of their mind. Okay. And they're doing things and not having any thought about it at all. Just like, oh, that's what we do it, that's it. See? And repeating things which is just, through a trauma reenactment syndrome, but not thought about actually. So these classes which we're doing with each other, it's something which is progressive, and I'd say that as someone could be tuning in more, they could go over and re-go over various things, and you're really taking a deep dive more into the metaphor that's within that is a window to the inside of the metaphor that someone's living.
What kind of lie?
It's present.
What kind of lie is the double-faced ghost going to tell us?
Double-faced ghosts might say, this is how something should be when obvious it isn't. They might say, I'd like to be injured, and would you injure me? It's like they're asking
That's
you.
Interesting.
Yes. You see, it's quite ridiculous, really. In their behaviour, they'll always be saying one thing but completely doing the opposite and not. Really? They'll also be massive procrastinators. Typical it will be because the behaviour itself has been set up so that dopamine will be run short like crazy, and the only sort of things behaviour-wise where someone is like that is to get dopamine surges.
That's a t-shirt right there, get dopamine.
Dopamine surges. So in eye awareness, where you're in perfect detachment, it means like in the research, you haven't had any selective bias. There's no slippery slope in there for sure. There's no, straw man arguments and things, which is sort of fallacious forms of reasoning, and we wouldn't go along where something is, and it's just sort of bandwagon appeal, of course. And then ad hoc is stuff to us, which, well, something happened in the same time and space, but it doesn't satisfy any cause and effect to you or I. We could see so many things could have gone on in that same time and a space, which wasn't cause and effect, you see. Okay. So, and then the other one is sort of like what the benefit would be that someone would have ad hominem, but then they'll bring up things which is to do just straight up with distractedness and dissociatedness in their own being.
This is all the Ghostface Liar. What is it called?
Yeah.
Ghostface?
A double-faced ghost.
The double-faced ghost.
The double-faced ghost is sort of like talking to you and saying yes by shaking their head no, or they're going to say they're going to go do something and you see them leaning back.
Right.
It's
I'm
sort
gonna
of
do this. All right. I think we've covered that. Let's go to the second liar.
Yes. Well, another type of lying is where some people are going to benefit, yes?
Okay.
And I'll get a benefit from that too. All
right.
You see?
Okay.
Yes.
So it's and who do they call? What do they call them?
They're deer-eyed people.
The deer-eyed liar.
Yes.
And they open their eyes as wide as they can.
Well,
Right.
yes, because they're surprised if something's not going their way, and they've got to make it bigger. You know what I mean?
And what kind? Okay, but they're going to tell you a lie, but you're both going to benefit from it, right?
No,
No.
they're telling you something because they've gone along with some bandwagon because they're just getting like Congress. You know, they're all
like
invested.
like somebody from a party.
Well, if
saying,
you're invested in the
hey,
big
we're gonna take
Pfizer,
care of you.
then you just start voting for the big Pfizer, and anybody's not part of the club, they want to kick you out because you're not
What do we call the
into
second? What do we call
getting
this
money
liar?
for your family.
What do we call this liar?
Hmm?
What is the name of this liar?
They're called deer-eyed.
That's right.
They're deer-eyed. They're deer-eyed.
Quickly, I forgot.
You know.
Okay, the deer-eyed.
Yes.
Okay, so that's simple. That's quick, right?
Right.
Give us an example of something they tell us.
They'll say, "Are you going to take this shot or not?"
Oh, almost like a straw man?
Oh, they'll do straw man. They'll do all kinds of things because why? They'll do all these things. But the thing is, the categorization of how they'll spend a lot of their life is they sort of look in the pictures and stuff that you see a little deer-eyed, and plus they get deer-eyed when they get something gets crossed about what they're doing. You see. Yeah, it's like, what do you mean?
Why are you doing this?
Yes, because I'm for the benefit.
Okay.
For the benefit. It's shocking to them that you'll cross them, you see, because this is wrong. You can't do that.
That reminds me of that saying, the road to hell is built with good intentions.
Yes, well, you'll see magistrates and people and all sorts of people
becoming
deer-eyed for a second.
I see a lot of deer-eyed liars on that road.
Okay. Well, yes, because where for instance the black frock white wigged ones, they have a lot of deer-eyed stuff. But you can have a look in and you'll see these judges and stuff like this.
Do they feel that it's okay to lie because it's a benefit if you go along?
Well, if you're a prop that's just
eating, they feel it's okay to lie for the bigger picture. It's a paid
prop that's eating,
right? Are they lying for the bigger picture?
Yeah, it's like a paid prop. That's eating.
Oh, politician.
Models.
What?
Female models, mainly.
Female models are not liars, all right?
But except that, in fact, they look deer-eyed.
Okay,
they're like this, right?
All right.
When they're taking the picture, what do they do? They
go. So far, my favorite liar. Let's go to the third one. Who's the third liar?
Okay, they're the long-noser.
Oh, the long-noser. He lifts his chin up. He looks down his nose towards you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because they're about the benefit of others, you see, but they are not receiving a benefit themselves.
Oh, really?
Well, that happens.
Does that make sense?
Well, that's a form of stupidity because you're actually benefiting others, but you kind of really, all of us it's gonna suck for us. Sort of thing.
If you have stupidity, you don't have to make sense.
Yeah, so long noses are upset because they are apparently doing the right thing, but they're getting whacked themselves and not getting a benefit.
So why even go through the process?
Well, believe it or not, people will actually participate in something like Johnny's going to go to war because somebody just said that. That's
so is that
group
type
think.
Of liar? Oh, so that's a mob
group think.
Rule.
They're following group think that can create all these things.
So that third liar is more than likely that type of liar.
It means that they've got a pattern where others will benefit, but they are not benefiting, and they are not settling properly for right of themselves, and so they'll just get taken through the mill non-stop.
What about the protesters on campus this year? What kind of liars were those, if they were even lying?
These people could be what's called the lip biter. Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, we haven't got to that one yet.
No, sorry.
Okay, so we're still on the... Which one?
Which one is this?
Yeah, the third
well, you're talking about like giving a benefit to others, sort of appearing to be this way, right? Okay. But you're doing it, yeah. You are.
Yeah.
But you're getting whacked yourself.
The down.
Yeah,
the long nose.
The long nose. You're seeing long nose type of lying or long nosing. You'll see this long nose go on.
Let me regain my memory.
Okay.
All right. And so the long noser, do they feel entitled? Why are they lying?
with the surrogate spouse relatedness that caused this type of child to come to be an adult and have sad baby or angry baby, the only way that they do it is you've got to get them on a pedestal. It's called a pedestal.
Pedestal.
You have to pedestal them, and it's called pedestal.
Okay.
You see, you got to have a stool to get up on the counter so as you can,
stand
sit
on
there.
the coffee table.
You have
Can we
to
stand on the coffee table?
well, pedestalled means you can't be, embarrassed.
All right, cool.
No, because and you can't, feel remorse.
I'm done being embarrassed.
Because it's not right. You see, so the parent who said that wasn't right, okay, didn't let the child go through those things and mollycoddled them through it a bit, and because they thought, oh well, I need to protect this child's self-worth or something because dad's not going to be around or the other parent's not going to be around anymore, and this sort of thing's gone on, and so these things create a syndrome into adulthood, which is called a surrogate spouse relatedness that's gone on, and then causing a trauma reenactment syndrome, which there are 4 types of sort of behaviours, of course, which go on where these lying is as well. But you see, it's sort of really what we're just talking about is that where truth is, it really is of perfect detachment, like you were saying, meaning that there isn't any selective bias whatsoever. But we would, of course, in our impartialness where we are, you're going to be rewarded a lot more because people will feel your greater impartialness, and so you are able to reflect and have a greater power than someone who, for instance, has got like a groin level in their consciousness always, or materialistic.
Give me another example about the long-nosed liar. What would they say?
Long noses are really upset, and they have to tell you what's wrong, and wake up to it. And it's like, oh my God! And then also to, damn it, there's somebody to blame about this. It's really rough. It's rough.
Somebody like
it's rough. And so underneath everything, all that you could say is there's not perfect detachment, which a great statesperson who does a good job where this is, you could see they have a greater perfect detachment.
Can I give you an example
given the circumstance of things going on?
The down-nosed liar would say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Leave the sponge in the sink because if you put it somewhere else, it's gonna get dirty and it's gonna smell. You need to leave the sponge in the sink. What do you think?
Okay.
Would they say that?
Okay, so now, well, it's a bit mixed up, but the only thing you could say there is that
that's actually not a lie, right?
That the
they're just telling me to leave the sponge.
Well, it's full of polarization.
Cancel that one because that's not a lie.
Yeah, no, but you see, the types of conditioning that is stuck is first just modifying everything. And so the channels that's below the random phoneme generator where someone is could be supportive or could not be supportive per se, or none of it could be supportive. And so this is an example of a double-faced ghost, but it's to do with someone's purpose, that something could be hygiene or something, or they could be very, very concerned about water going somewhere or something. Okay.
That's something different. I was thinking because that's actually somebody who's angry and just wants to lash out at somebody. Anyways, give us an example of the long nose. A long nose would tell us. A long nosing
will definitely be in there because they'll have their chin out. They'll have their chin out. What's that saying?
Give me a liar. Give me a lie that they will tell me.
Well, whilst their chin is out, every single thing they're doing, looking down their nose, is sort of like
they're lying through their body language.
Well, they're letting you know that they're in judgment about you.
Okay, got it.
You see,
like it.
Yes, and so they're being a parent over a child.
So that they're lying also. That body language right there tells you, oh, here comes the lie.
Well, where somebody is more, let's say, meditative, like you were saying before, or even before the show, you were saying, well, somebody's in a more meditative state. Their accessing cues is just next to not to be any much, and that's true.
That's right.
I mean, then also you said their eyes are relatively level. That's true too. So in fact, actually, where somebody is doing things which are micro movements, those are micro movements, could be just only half-second micro movements, and typically there's a family of things going along where that is, and a good person who's trained in body language, they can see those micro movements, and it's sort of based upon like a referential index that you've got beforehand, and now you can look and see quite a bit of things going on, matter of fact, because you've got something to compare things from. And so that you're looking at clusters of things that happen to come up with what this is. So it's just looking at patterns, matter of fact.
Okay.
But so the body language part of it is really good because, like, so far we've got three types of liars, which are three types of stupidity, in fact, because we're not saying that somebody is just purposefully or intentionally being deceitful. All we just said before was that where some stuck state was, it kind of would be stopping someone from actually being able to be having clarity in their life.
So I can say you are lying and you're stupid. I can say that.
I think I could say that to myself to shut my own internal dialogue down. True, because internal dialogue will take somebody out, and you can't be on the playing field, and nor be present if you're in a dialogue.
Well, mine will definitely be an external dialogue.
Yeah, so actually the more that you put things in the worst terms possible to drop stuff, the better, actually, because then it gets dropped. It does. Because if we dabble with it, it's sort of being lukewarm about things. Yeah. No, it's either hot or cold sort of thing, and that's more spiritual.
All right, so what would a long noser's going to say? Oh, hey, what? What are they going to tell me? What are they going to tell me?
Oh, first you'll see them point a lot. That's one thing. And they cut the air.
The chin goes up.
They cut the air.
What do you mean
they stack things.
What do you mean they cut the air?
They'll be chopping things like this, with their hand.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And then also too, they'll have much more clipped sort of language. They'll go, "You'll talk about this now, and it's going to get
you know what? It sounds like a boss, like a manager.
Well, that's what rap is.
A supervisor.
Yes, it's coming from the amygdala and tegmentum.
Okay,
but
so,
the last show that we did, we were just saying when somebody was congenitally blind and deaf, so they kind of not ever heard anything. Think about it.
Yeah.
And they kind of not seen anything either, right? So now imagine this just for a second. So now you don't have those senses. And, natural things we saw, like we said, happiness was easy. Like it's expressed, good. But when people went to do things like anger, for instance, when we asked to express that, they weren't able to express that properly at all.
So deaf and blind people.
They couldn't kind of get the whole thing going, basically.
Really?
No.
Wow.
Right.
Interesting.
They couldn't get the whole thing going.
So a long-nosed person is going to tell me who to vote for?
Long noses will definitely be, and all of them, all the stupid ones, will be telling you various things like you just said, but not have a proper motive like a devil, which is really not a proper true motive.
So it's almost confusing.
Well, if you don't know that, for instance, in the court, there's a right side which is about you, the living being, and you're not the name. You're not a namee, you see. But if you stand up to be the namee, then your body then becomes the equity. If somebody didn't do their, proper, admiralty with you, meaning they were admirable with you in their discretion.
Okay. The last liar, number 4.
The last one is the lip biter. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. And what kind of a lie are they gonna?
These are people who all are really getting a benefit, and they're not doing anything. They're just getting a benefit.
Would it be like maybe somebody cheating?
It's better for them not
on their spouse?
Well, it's better for them just to not really say anything. You know what I mean?
Okay, so who would tell me a lip biter What kind of lie would they tell me?
Well, you could be getting a scholarship. You could be getting all sorts of things being given to you, and so you're going to kind of like go along with that sort of thing. Yes.
Okay. But
Or
why would anybody need to lie about that?
Yeah, because they're getting a scholarship.
Okay. Give me another example.
Where someone gets another benefit, like for instance, they have a title of nobility, for instance, which you can't kind of give to anyone.
Oh, okay. So are you telling me the British monarch is a bunch of liars?
Well, when you could be just trained that if you've got luxury or you've got sort of material things, most then will become very material orientated, and so they only could be thought in terms that there's degrees of fascism, and you got people on materialism and might be here, so we'll go along with it.
Oh, so they're just going along with the lie.
Well, they're just going along because I got a benefit, and so I'm comfortable.
Okay.
They're the worst, sort of, in a way, because that's what your family members are like, because they're not going to care to learn anything new. No. And what's that called? It's called zero-level learning.
Died. Oh, well, how much
it's called
do
zero
I get?
level
What
learning.
do I get? He died. Oh, what do I get?
So zero-level learning
and then they're biting their lip right after.
Where someone is comfortable where they are. And so the older somebody gets, the more they come to be more lip biters. You'll see it, in fact.
So older people are more lip biters.
Well, the older that somebody becomes, the more the lips sort of start to be, rather than turned up, but turned down. That's one
what
thing.
If somebody bites off their lip?
And then they can become pouty because the bottom lip will start to be pushed out like huge. They can drop their jaw.
Really?
And so now they're only into kinesthetic states, sort of thing. And when you
kinesthetic state,
feelings only, not hearing or seeing.
Ooh.
And so it's sort of like a selective, restrictive
blind
violation. So where somebody only ever you hear them, they'll say, "Go, get, have, do this," and it's just kinesthetic. There's not a single thing that's coming from the auditory part of their brain ever, nor the visual part, because you don't ever hear somebody saying or discussing or using words like "to see what I mean," to get a clear perspective, for instance. So somebody went kinesthetic, auditory, visual in the way that they put things out. Most people in a stuck state are only sort of representing something in one sense. And so because there's sensory system deletion in the way they're delivering it, it appears to us always, never not, as a selective restrictive violation to us. And so it's going to cause, until you've got perfect detachment, an attachedness to the freezing of the brain, because we don't like our brains being frozen, and none of us could have habits to actually sort of put up with something which was not in a flow, you see.
So the lip biter doesn't have to say anything. They just have to bite their lip. And deceptive
they're
thoughts.
Holding back, making sure that you're not going to find something out. You see?
Yeah.
You see about what they said. It's sort of like, so a lot of these
like
students
it's almost like they're waiting to get cut.
Talking about the political subject of things overseas or somewhere else.
All right, so
they're kind of wondering if this is right or not.
They're hoping that something doesn't come up in the conversation. They're biting their lip thinking, "Oh man, please don't come up, please don't."
They're appearing as positive as they can, and they're getting a benefit themselves, but society really isn't.
Interesting.
You see?
All right.
Because we're just going to be comfortable where we are. It's called zero level learning. But learning level 1, there's 4 levels, which is another program. But right now, what we've been talking about is just really perfect detachment, meaning that, like what you said at the beginning, where somebody's really impartial in their own self. We could see it because their shoulders are relaxed, their tummies relaxed. They're not having a point of view, and they're not pointing at the moon.
Well, and check this out. Liars. I forgot what I was going to say, but that's okay because we have a break. We'll
come back.
Yeah, we'll come back.
We'll just come back because actually the last bit was about pointing at the moon.
Pointing at the moon?
Yes, because it's it's just, believe it or not,
all right,
it's
folks,
a form of what
we'll
this
be
is
back
about.
Before you know it, here we go. Okay, we're back, just like a bad horror movie. All right, now what we're gonna do is right before we went to break, you mentioned liars like to point at the moon.
Yeah, well, it's a form of deceit in their own self, and that we could come to realize these things. And now it's how we're keeping ourselves company, because it kind of really is what's going on. Like for a liar that's living a life this way, which is really not proper right livelihood, let's say, right? Basic, like, which could start out this way, but some sort of benefit is going along, and someone's in some right livelihood, and we will just say that how could someone be left out of it? Because, like, we're living in a time of negative economic inductance where everybody is a slave, and there's degrees of fascism, of course, you see. And where we're living in a common law country, and we've got rights that come from title, but those are things that have been removed. But that's another topic. But you'd see it breeds a ground of like a plantation where there are sorts of benefits that are being got, but it's a lie, because why? Well, why are you getting a benefit? It's like, no, yeah, benefited means something you're getting, but and somebody else doesn't get it. It's sort of really,
Why do you call it pointing at
venture
the moon?
capitalism.
Why do you call it pointing at the moon?
Because somebody can miss the splendor of the moon. You know, when I have got stuck with my finger pointing, right?
If they start physically pointing stuff, they're going to lie.
Well, it's going to cause me as a researcher probably to have not proper science behind what I did. Yeah, exactly. So when I would look into something, it has to be logical, like you were saying, and we love that, and we love it so much.
And that's right. I said it during break. If somebody's telling me something and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, more than likely it's bull dust. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, basically, because for the most part, something is face valid, and that's the strongest form of validity. It's face valid. Things which is reliable means that, you know, it could be repeated. Somebody could find what that is tomorrow, the day after. It doesn't matter. It's a fact is a fact. Whereas something which is more transient perception is a portrayal, and that portrayal is misleading and purposefully deceitful. And so, you know, you've got things like that going on. And you and I, Speckled Snake, cause people to be able to become more aware of this just through body language and teaching people the 4 types of
and we will get into
stupidity,
and body
basically.
Language on another episode. I want to stay focused on the line and all that. But body language, lying through body language, that's going to be maybe our next episode tomorrow, because it'll be a continuation of lying. Now, let me ask you this. I go out and I'm buying a car. What kind of liar am I dealing with a car salesman?
You're gonna deal with a lip biter,
okay,
first,
okay,
and then a slight deer-eyed.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So a car salesman is going to be a lip biter.
Because, well, the lip biter is going to be because they're letting you know, gosh, you're getting a real benefit. Okay. You know, she comes in to get the car fixed, and you've got $7,500 of bill here, and it's really going to fix the car up, right?
Okay. And so, now, so I'm in that situation. How would I respond or deal with that? A lie. How would I respond to it?
Well, first, of course, when we can see these things inside ourselves, we can actually start to totally get a greater picture of whole things. Can you imagine actually that if where somebody is suddenly able to see patterns, of course, you're picking these patterns out, and that you're becoming more intelligent, in fact.
Thank you.
Well, and then you're able, we as a society, certain, because that was the bigger thing that the Toltec taught, which means from the city. We'll come to it again in another program, but they taught that there was a way for people to be able to live together, and as we did, it would be because we could have transparency. And so once we had transparency inside ourselves, we would be authentic. And as we were authentic and it's being modeled, there was ways that we could learn about it a bit. And Speckled Snake was so fantastic because it was he was really into the body language stuff of it, like really good.
Did he ever tell you how to respond to a liar?
Well, You see, because somebody is first, their identity is pristine.
Okay.
You're always speckled snake would be responding, and everything that speckled snake did would be responding to someone's identity being pristine, and
Okay.
suddenly causing someone to become more aware of that themselves, so everyone could then spot things themselves, and so we all could then make better decisions, sort of, because you've got all these sort of lead whores out there and ideas, but you yourself, like, I mean, me, anyone, we're focused on what leadership is in our own selves, because it's sort of, we're leading ourselves, and whole meaning, something is both psychological and physiological. Okay, good. And brain really meaning, well, you know what, there's leadership involved in things we do. Yes, there is, that's true. And functioning evermore is really sort of, well, something has got a sustainableness about it. And these things happen to be where truth is being served, and these are inductive and deductive types of reasoning, and this is what perfect detachment is. So that's in math. You see, it's a mathematical.
This is how I'm going to how I deal with the liar. I will go along, and then I will lie and say, "Ooh, I got an emergency. I need to go. I'll be back." Right? And then you get out of the situation.
Well, only just that you could say 10,000 things could go on where something is Murphy's Law, and that nothing exists except chaos. But if the point was some learning is, someone would want to leave behind things which is a great learning. And first it would be that somebody, as you said, they don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. The bathwater is definite and it's got to be thrown out, but the baby's kept, sort of thing, like you were saying. That's true. I think actually everybody where you are first, it should be that you could be honouring people where they are. And actual fact it is that where we can agree and have agreement, we're going to get a better result. But let's say that you're wanting to get to a better deal about a car getting fixed, for instance.
Yes.
And you've got somebody who suddenly is biting their lip. Well, you're going to know straight away that, well, you know what, maybe there's something actually going on more. Yeah, well, no, but something else could be a better plan for you.
Okay.
And and it could make sense. Like
maybe you tell them, hey, I can tell you're lying.
Well, somebody could say, well, could it need to be done just today now? Because I know these things could be done later on. There's things that's like that.
And
so now causing you to be able to get to what could be wise yourself versus polarizing, let's say, because just something wasn't right. But so you're doing what you can to always be active in the process.
I'm dealing with a government agency. What kind of liar am I going to get?
Okay, so the different forms of government agencies, let's just say someone's been selected by a PAC, not you or I, and we're going to elect them after that.
Okay, we got a lot of other...
and so part of politickedness would be like, well, you've got candidates, and they're doing something else, aren't they?
Say I'm dealing with...
or you're dealing with someone who's got
I'm dealing with the IRS.
Someone who's got a permanent position.
Okay, I'm dealing with the IRS. What kind of liar
a director of a government department.
I'm just dealing with the IRS. What kind of liar am I going to go with?
Well, some are going to be prosecuting and some are going to be administrators. So which one are we talking about?
Administrative.
Okay, administrator is going to be deer-eyed and they're going to be lip-biting.
Okay.
Deer-eyed, because what do you mean? We've got a benefit here. This is supposed to be positive. This is like, this is for the greater good. And saying things and then biting the lip a bit.
Because almost like this is they're biting their lip, they have waiting to be for you to react.
Administrators have to be social, so they're focused way more on actually this being more social to
municipal court in town.
Well, prosecution, jail whores, and prosecute whores, the same type of behaviours can be existed, and so it's typical that you're going to have most in those positions because there's no oversight. You'll have long nose whores.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Mainly long nose whores.
Long nose whores.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. What about what's a good liar? What's a good situation we'll run into in town. Police officer. What kind of lie are they going to tell me? The police officer.
Well, let's say they were recruited by the government,
Mm-hmm.
and the local government sort of had ads, and it was sort of helping people, older people, all sorts of things, and it was really like a job like we would imagine like what goes on with police are. Versus we're in Georgia and we're in Atlanta and we want militants, and so we're going to have Humvees and stun guns.
All right, we're in Vegas.
And so it's different. So the mentality is very different.
Getting pulled over by a police officer in Vegas.
Yeah.
What kind of liar will a police officer be towards me?
Okay, so because you're in the neighborhood and everybody knows you. And I'm not saying
they're liars, but, you know.
Yeah, because you're in the neighborhood and everybody knows you, for the most part, they'll drive a little bit. And if they had to have said something to you, they might look a little deer-eyed a bit.
Really?
Because you know, you're a nice person and they're really friendly. Okay,
so I'm dealing with the deer-eyed liar.
Well,
with the police.
Well, they're going to have more deer-eyed kind of like.
And you know,
but
I know
for
they
instance,
say stuff. I know they'll say
let's
something
just say
to me
that
to avoid more explanation.
Business, my job is I'm doing business and I'm collecting money.
I know they're trying to.
I'm going to get a charge.
I'm going to get a charge. A lot of times when I talk to them.
Yeah, so then you're going to have more long nosing.
Okay.
Because the long noses are thinking, listen, you know what? A society's getting this benefit, and you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Thing, yeah.
And so they're going to have judgment about you.
You know, and it's funny. You know how fast you're going because they ask you. They already know how fast you're going, right? You know how fast you're going, and they do that with the long nose because they already know the answer. They want to hear.
Well, everyone knows that that's just something that you would be able to have a fact about. And be able to have kept with that fact, because if you don't keep with the fact of that, this is going to be a problem for you because you're already arguing, you see.
What I say is I was going pretty fast. I was about 33, 34 miles an hour.
Well, these behaviours automatic can be, could you imagine, and they're like tardive dyskinetic types of automatic behaviours.
See? Let me tell you something. I'm an automatic liar when I get pulled over by the police. Automatic liar. I mean, nothing's going to be true.
A situational specifics is more to do with how do you manage things under stress. And so now what the control behaviours will be locked there, and you often are like considering things, but you only have gone through something which was told to you or done something, and but you'll be observing everything going on, and it might not be going your way whatsoever, you see.
What career would you say has the best liars?
Well, for instance, if you were getting pulled over by the officer and things, you would care for them to be on your side.
Of course.
So you'd bring things down and you'd place us. You'd place some things for us to look at together. And we'd be looking at something together. So the moment you did something like that, you're in a body language more where you're causing people to be together more versus, we're opposed to each other. So a lot of things somebody does which actually has success, of course, really. Anybody could use and do, and they're going to have better success.
The best liars.
Well, for instance, dentists.
Really?
If that was,
are liars? They're the best liars?
Bankers, dentists, I mean,
I'm leaning towards something.
Yeah.
Politicians. Hello, that was a trick question. Yeah. That was a trick question.
You've got different types, haven't you? But particularly like in a politicking, for instance, a candidate, once you're trying to date, and you've got courting behaviours as a politician. And so every single thing that you're doing is more courting. And so you're going to have certain things. So let's say that in that position, typical it is that you always are doing the right thing and helping where people are, but the very thing that goes on is that you get into trouble, and so you could feel judgment and things. So it's going to be more long-nosedness, more or less. And so long-nosing is sort of where someone really is. We're supposed to be getting a benefit, and you should know this, but we put out our nose, long nose, because you're to be felt smaller about things. And so the long noser is actually like pushing their chin out, and their chin out is sort of a cross vector. So they're looking down their nose, and pushing their chin out. And it's opposite to sort of like kid report, which would be sort of like you're able to sell your grandmother anything, a matter of fact.
Would you say a politician is all four liars?
Well, their family of things goes on where someone is, but typically, like a politician is going to have a lot of deer eye a bit, yes, because the deer eye is like, hey, wait a minute, society's getting a benefit, and I'm getting a benefit too, right? And so they are all a bit deer-eyed.
They're always getting a benefit.
They'll pop the camera and they'll be a bit deer-eyed at you. And then afterward, like for instance, if they're getting actually you're getting a benefit, but I'm getting whacked, meaning that's a form of stupidity, right? So those people will be long-nosing, you see, yes? And so there'll be a form of long-nosing that's going on where things are, you see, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So you've got a family of things that goes on. And so like I said, like where something is sort of conscious, you're going to have 4 or 5 second types of movements and things going on as accessing cues. Otherwise, you're going to have sort of really micro expressions, and those micro expressions are sort of like about half-minute types of micro expressions of the mouth, the nose, and the eyes, and the face. And so typically, someone very good at this is what I do, they can tell straight away what the family of emotion, more or less, that's existing where something is.
Politician.
Well, for your child, where your child is, let's say, okay, like,
and that's a t-shirt,
and prudence. So where children are, and everyone is your child, you see, because you're caring, and so you really care, and you could see the position that someone else is in, of course, like you're pointing out, but you've got perfect detachment in the way that you look at things, and so this is called a new mindset. So these things which we're talking about really is causing someone to become more into a new mindset, because as we started to talk about, anywhere where I would have had some stuckness, it is going to be something which is always, obvious, and the various things that go on. And so it's called selective restrictive violation. So for instance, if I always am only about what's materialistic, period, you see. So those are things which then are always, no matter what, it's always just going to be coming out, and no matter what I do, even in everything that goes on, something will be not very literate. And so I'll spend my life in terms of just gambling and in my head in internal dialogue. And a lot would be just the same as if you didn't have any of those things. You would be just looking at your fingers in the institute, and you'd be looking at your fingers going, in front of your face, going back and forward. Yes.
Yeah.
And these are forms of what's called tardive dyskinesia, basically, mate. Meaning there's automatic movements that are going on, and it's sort of you've got no control over it, sort of thing. You see. So Pavlov would just ring a bell, and after it was paired with eating, you just ring the bell, and it would the dogs would all saliva.
You know what?
See?
I must be a Pavlov dog because it works on me too.
Well, every single thing we know, you could say is Pavlovian conditioning mainly, except for some few things like happiness. Happiness is something which we actually have within us, a natural expression, like we started to talk about at the beginning of the program. But we said that like people that were congenitally blind and deaf, they weren't able to express anger at all. But we could talk about that just for 1 second.
Go for it.
So if, for instance, if you, in anger, you can get your stomach muscles engaged, we could just, like if somebody's portraying anger the best and they're going to get 10 for it, okay, you start with, well, they've got to have only flexor muscles, meaning muscles that pull you in first. So fists, arms, latissimus dorsis, pulling your muscles in, your gut muscles pulling you in. If you do all these things just as I do this, just a little bit, but imagine you're also dissociated, because otherwise you're going to feel really, really upset, sort of thing, you see. So people can feel upset because they start to do those things. So also too, so first you have to have flexor muscles involved. You also have to be able to be more left orientated. So because you've got to have access to your right hemisphere, which is involved in the mediation of aversion, whereas the left hemisphere is more, which engages the right side of your body, more engaged, involved in the mediation of pleasure. So you have to be a little bit more, because I just said the right hemisphere is more involved in the mediation of aversion.
No, why is the right side of our brain control the left side of our body, and the left side of our brain controls the right side?
Yeah, because we've got only commissural fibers that fit onto the one side, which is about 20%. 80% of those fibers switch over, and you've got a left-right type of motor conditioning that's going on, because the brain is supposed to be set up so that both hemispheres are complementing each other, like you're on a tennis court or something like this.
That was cool.
You're just in the act of actual tennis versus you're conflicted,
heard, right?
And you've got internal dialogue going on when you should be playing tennis, for instance. Okay, so you can only do one thing at a time, and so somebody can only say, oh, you can only serve one master in one moment. And where somebody's serving two masters, this is what we're talking about. You see, there's got mixed motives that are going on. You see.
Oh, here's a great situation.
Mixed motives are sort of always sort of present, sort of as it is there. And so the devil was just something lived backwards. That's what that means, spelt backward, that's all. But so where something is social, it is that some benefit exists, right? And then otherwise it really doesn't. But basically that there's 4 types of stupidity. And the very thing is that we all could say that we live in a world which we imagine that sophistication exists, but you could get a Nobel Prize winner and you could have someone very intelligent and others, but everybody in the same room will only have the same effect. And so this is sort of really, we imagine that because we've got some sophistication somewhere that something is sophisticated, you see, and this is an error. So first it is that we could all of us consider that we've got more people acting stupid in the world, and stupidity, forms of stupidity, which is really not of any benefit.
I think I should disclose for our listeners that I do have all 4 types of stupidity.
Well, everybody has degrees of what this is, because in fact, actually, wherever we were attached, as you started the program out, that someone isn't going to have impartialness where their research is or what they've said. But like what you just said at the start of the program was that where somebody's detached, it means that in math, it means that whatever the inference is, it absolutely is, you see. So where you're talking about what's real is something that's permanent, and what's permanent is something that's more empty spaces, you were saying.
Wow.
Not something filled in there, which once it's filled in, it is going to be like groin level sorts of stuff, all sorts of things going on. But then the body language is going to portray their speckled snakes having sort of just given you the long noser and giving you the lip biter, or giving you the double-faced ghost. And what was the other one?
The long nose.
Deer-eyed.
The deer-eyed.
Okay, so you've got these sort of forms of lying. And when somebody is lying, you'll always have these 4 forms of things going on.
Oh,
so depending on actually the type of...
And we all have all forms.
Well, yeah, because either something is social or it's not social. And because of it, you're going to have 4 types of... deceit, which is kind of like when I'm deceitful within my own self, it's because I would be like only having processed information by sorting by polarization, for instance, which in math you've only got 3 forms of response, that's it. So 2 responses are congruent, and I could get every single thing done through those modes, versus the other one, you're not going to get anything done through that mode much. It's sort of really about what's opposite, what's obscure, what doesn't fit, versus the things that do fit, or with condition, which is the 2 other types of mathematical conditions exist. Where a strange attractor is in math, you have 4 types of conditions in behavior, which we're just only talking about. If you're talking about artificial intelligence, the piece that's missing at the moment, which can start to get put in, is the vestibular sense, which at this moment, because smart contract hasn't used is, that's a problem. But in a JC quanta, you have to use is, because that's a verb, and that you have to use a real noun. So you can't have pronouns in a contract which can't be described, and that if something is an appellation, which it is, where we have our appellation, and all of us that have languages that are close together, matter of fact, our language base come from the same reasoning. Now, if I go to Austria, or if I go to Switzerland or Germany, or I could go to a few other places, but I'll see that as a linguist, right, you've got subject, object, verb. I'll be quite surprised. I'll be delighted, matter of fact, when I listen and hear and read what that person said 2,000 years ago. Why? Because they're using subject, object, verb in in the way that they're phonetically putting their syntax and their structure of their thinking together. Whereas if you're going to go to a lot of other places, you don't have this R1B gene. And what follows this R1B gene perfectly is subject, object, verb as far as like phonetics and languages is concerned. So where people have subject, object, verb, they have a great logic. Well, the reason is because who is in front of what, as you will know. In our language, we're upset if somebody doesn't even know who. It's like, excuse me, you don't even know who. It's like, yeah, well, and so this is identity. So most people could say that the very first stuck place is existing where identity is, like you said, and their identity being pristine and being about having room inside as space, because the only thing which is absolute is empty space. And this is the center of I, which is in our logic we have in I itself. You know, and there's various ways that angelic and angel was the first place that got settled in Egypt, in Europe, after the ice melted.
That's wonderful.
And this was when Doggerland was still like, you know, all a massive land, and Cornwall was not a peninsula whatsoever. It was called Tin Land in our tongue, because that's where we got iron.
Is that where lying started?
And we were the only ones who actually really had steel. So when you look at the R1B gene and you see this mitochondrial gene, which has come from the father through the mother, you're going to see something extraordinary. And you can see there was a fusion always where these people were. So why was that? Because they left people alone. They let them have their culture. They never interfered with their art. They had the boats, and they always came to the ports, and they had cargo. And so where you have cargo, you've got something to sell.
Folks, and there you go. There's where lying started. That's it for us today. Jub, please tell everybody something wonderful that they can do to make their life better.
I think actually everybody should live simply that others can simply live.
Sounds good. Take us out.